Ghost in New York City by A Shark Reading Glasses on AO3. Chapter 3 Joan Doe Incident. I really should have seen this coming, Danny thought as he struggled to stay conscious in the dumpster he'd been thrown in. The whole ride from Amity Park to New York had been peaceful, or as peaceful as it could be with his parents, and his first 2 days were relatively unrestricted access to the city had been worry-free and fun. So, of course, the universe had to decide that Danny was due to get screwed over and had to resolve to cash in with interest. First, he had to take 3 breaks while flying from Queens to Barnwell Gardens in Bronx. 3 breaks. In Amity, he could fly for hours and hours on end without even thinking about resting, and he hadn't even noticed anything off with his powers the last 2 days in New York. But now, he couldn't keep his unusual breakneck pace flying this morning, almost reverting from his ghost form when he tried. When he finally made it to Gardens, he nearly collapsed in the empty bathroom that he'd found when he turned back because he was so hungry. Danny couldn't remember ever being this hungry before, especially because he had lost most of his appetite after his incident. He quickly found a nearby Dunkin' Donuts shop and ordered 12 of their cheapest breakfast sandwiches, eating them ravishly as he made his way over to the entrance of the box gardens. Danny felt better when he finished the improp second breakfast, but concealed he was feeling nowhere near his usual energy levels. He shot a quick text to Tucker and Sam, listing his exhaustion and hunger as his major concerns, and hoped they would come up with a reason. As he walked around the gardens taking pictures of absolutely enormous lily pads they had on the ponds, and any deadly or exotic plants he thought Sam might enjoy, he periodically checked on his ghost core and became worried when nothing appeared to be wrong. He finally got a text back from Tucker and Sam around lunch. Their best guess was he was probably unintentionally absorbing the ambient ectoplasm released from the portal when he was at home, and it was acting like a recharge station for his powers. Because no other town had that much ambient ectoplasm, he was probably only now feeling the effects of constantly using his powers. That, of course, led to his second problem. Eating only refilled his energy reserves so much, and without the quick fix of absorbing ectoplasm, Danny had to limit the use of his powers until he got back to the hotel and used his emergency ectoplasm injection, which meant he had to find a way to get back to the hotel in Queens. He didn't have enough money for a cab, so either he had to call his parents to pick him up or use public transport systems to get back. Danny couldn't even begin to think of how to explain to his parents how he got to the Bronx, so public transport it is. Thankfully, a secretary at Gardens Visitor Center took pity on him when he made up a story about a friend's car breaking down and explaining he'd never used a subway or bus system before. That part, at least, was true. He'd always walked, flew, or used his scooter to get anywhere in Amity. She gave him a map and instruction on how to get to the train station, which would take him to the subway, which subway lines he should follow, and which stops he needed to get off at. The public transport system in New York was, in a word, an experience. Getting to the station wasn't so bad, but trying to get to the right ticket so he wouldn't waste his limited money was slightly confusing. Once he was sure he had the right ticket, Danny thought he could relax a bit, but then was overwhelmed when he got to the train platform. It felt like he had entered the ghost zone for the first time again and was completely blindsided by the amount of people whirling through each other. He got lucky when an older couple saw his panic expression and asked if he was all right. Danny admitted to them that he was trying to get back to Queens, and it was his first time ever using the train and subway system. He showed them the list of lines and stops he was supposed to follow, and the couple said that they were heading the same way. They led him to the right platform, boarded the train, and got to talking. Danny started to relax and began to enjoy the conversation, and finding some of the odder characters on the train. At the next few stops, the couple helped him get the right subway ticket, showed him how to switch lines, and to make sure he was on the correct platform, so he was going the right way, until they had to part ways. They had on different lines. Danny shyly asked if he could get a picture with them to put in a scrapbook he was making of his visit. They happily agreed. Danny blushed to the tips of his ears when the woman insisted they have a couple extra dollars to get a snack. Danny never got the chance to meet his grandparents from either his mother's or father's side, but he imagined this was what Sam felt like when talking about her Bibula. The rest of the ride's screen was mostly relaxing, seeing so many different people mingling about, and there were a couple street performers on the platform that were nice to listen to as he waited for the subway. He was feeling great when he managed the last few switches by himself, made it topside to the correct street, and orientated himself towards the hotel without any difficulty. This, of course, was when his luck officially ran out, and the universe gave him the middle finger. A mere 6 blocks away from the hotel, he was grabbed and dragged off the streets as he was passing the mouth of an alleyway. The asshole that grabbed him slammed Danny's back against the wall a decent way from the street and hidden out of sight thanks to a dumpster. Danny raised his hands trying to get his bearings when he felt the prick of a knife at his stomach, and he had to clench up as he fought his instincts to go ghost, his core flaring up with adrenaline. The mugger that held him at knife point wore nondescript jeans, a plain t-shirt covered by an open zip-up hoodie, and a black baseball cap covering most of the brunette hair. Danny looked back towards the street, and the mugger had a buddy leaning against the wall by the mouth of the alleyway, keeping watch and wearing similar clothing. Danny looked around briefly. Nothing the chain link fence on the other end of the alleyway, not far from where he was, when the knife pierced through his shirt and started digging into his skin. He turned his eyes back to the assailant towering over him. "Hey, man," Danny stammered, as he started to sweat. "I don't want any trouble." "Neither do we, kid," the man answered. "Give us everything you've got, and you could be on your way." Danny's heart rate jumped. With the pictures on his phone and the name in his contacts, it wouldn't take much to get Spider-Man in trouble. Not to mention, if he went back to the hotel without his phone or wallet, his parents would know he got mugged and would keep him leashed for the rest of the trip. Taking a chance, Danny did what he did best and started to talk. "Look, I just finished taking a totally unplanned subway trip from the Bronx," Danny said, shakily. "I don't have anything left, and my phone is pretty crap. My parents are expecting me to check in soon, and if they don't hear from me, they're gonna call the police, so why don't you just let me go?" As he spoke, Danny took a moment to assess his attacker. The guy had nothing on Dash in terms of bulk, and Danny could handle Dash pretty easily, even just evasion tactics, even without his powers. Although Danny never shanked him down at knife point either. Danny could see his attacker start to falter, taking in Danny's terrified body language and shaking hands. Just as it looked like he was about to back off, his friends called out down the alleyway, "What's the holdup?" The second assailant growled out. The knife wheeler took his eyes off Danny and was about to report when Danny decided to act. He quickly pushed the knife down and out the way, quivering under the man's arms, and booked it towards the fence. Taking a running leap and climbing as quickly as he could, his attacker let out a noise of surprise, but Danny wasn't about to look over his shoulder to find out what they were doing. Just as one of his hands reached the top of the fence, one of the muggers grabbed his leg and attempted to yank him off. Danny tried to kick out with his legs as he clung on when one of his hands slipped, and he was dragged off the fence and landed in the heap of his stomach. Something pierced his side. Danny quickly tried to roll over, but his side stung and felt hot and slippery. He lifted himself up slightly and nearly screamed in horror when he spotted the knife embedded in his abdomen, blood blossoming on his shirt from the wound. He flipped himself over and tried to scramble away from the former knife wielder before hitting a wall. Crackling his hands around the wound, Danny could feel himself start to panic. He, Sam, and Tucker had dealt with bumps, bruises, scratches, and occasional burns from ectoplasm in the past, but never something as serious as this. Blood was smeared on the ground, a gruesome short tail leading from the fence back to the dumpster, and Danny's hands started to become slippery and stained. Nate, what the fuck did you do? The lookout yelled as he abandoned his post at the entry of the alleyway and peered around the dumpster to look at Danny. The knife wheeler, Nate, heaved himself up and turned to look at Danny, his face going pale. Shit, Nate stammered as he scrambled to get up. Shit, fuck, I didn't mean to stab him. He must have slipped out my knife when I was trying to get him off the fence. We gotta get out of here, the lookout said, glancing at the mouth of the alleyway to make sure the commotion hadn't attracted any attention. What? Travis, we can't just leave him here, Nate argued, throwing his arms out in Danny's direction. Fuck you, man. I ain't going away as an accomplice for murder when the kid dies on the way to the hospital, Travis replies, rounding the dumpster and shoving Nate aggressively. So we're just gonna let him die? Nate shot back. Travis grabbed Nate by the hoodie and dragged him closer to practically spit in his face. This was your idea. Who do you think is gonna go down for this when we come forward and call an ambulance? Well, let me tell you, buddy, it sure as hell won't be me, Travis growled, then shoved Nate away. Nate Pollard turned a staler pale, and he gestured at Danny, who had curled up trying to put pressure on his wound around the knife. So what the fuck do you want to do? Nate whispered. Travis paused for a moment before stepping between Danny and the dumpster. Danny flinched and tried to scramble away, but Travis grabbed his closest arm with bristling force and yanked it away from the room. Help me get him into the dumpster, Travis said, as Danny struggled weakly to get his grip, trying to keep pressure on his wound on his remaining hand. Please, don't do this, Danny begged, completely terrified as he felt his core fluctuate uncontrollably. Jesus Christ, Danny gasped as he took a step back. You can't be serious. We need time to get as far away from here as possible, Travis argued, as he halted Danny from the ground, and Danny groaned as his wound was aggravated. We leave him out in the open, someone's gonna notice him real quick. Now help me, or that knife is going into you next. Nate shakily stepped to Danny's other side to grip his other arm, at least trying to be gentle. Danny tore his hand away from the wound, trying to push either Travis or Nate away. Instantly, gravity started to pull out the knife, lighting his side with pain, as Travis and Nate manhandled him to try and get a better grip on him. Travis jolted the knife out and slid it out of Danny's abdomen, blood pouring out of the wound. Danny jerked before going boneless and nearly passing out. His attackers took the opportunity to easily lift and throw his body in the dumpster. Danny's head banged on one of the walls as he landed in the trash. He tried to use his shirt as a barrier between the wound and the germ-infested sinkhole he found himself in, putting pressure on the back spot and trying to get himself out. Danny's core rippled violently, unstably pulsing against his core as he tried not to go ghost. He listened intently as footsteps faded from the alleyway. When Danny was completely sure he was alone, he let go of his control, and his ghost core thumbed to life, filling his blood vessels with ectoplasm and repairing his damaged cells. Wade was having a pretty shit day if he was being honest with himself. His last work order ended yesterday when the piece of cockroach turd of a human being was stalking his ex, trailed tail after he found out that Deadpool was her hired muscle. Weasel didn't have any requests for him at Hell House. Peter was doing an early patrol today, and the boxes were just being so mean. Oh, boo-hoo, poor baby, Whiny snickered in his ear as Wade wandered across rooftops. Grow a pair and shut the fuck up. Hey now, whispered Greenie. Mind the rating, you uncultured swine. No, it's fine, Yellow reassured them. They just upped the ranking to M. We're in the clear, everyone. Great, Wade thought, grumly. We're finally moving up in the world. Does that mean I get to play Russian roulette now? You better not, Red suggested. You'll make them nervous. Besides, you promised Peter you wouldn't. I did promise, didn't I? Wade thought. He slowed down when he passed the alleys favored by small-time crooks, hoping to get lucky, begging for a baddie he could pound his frustrations on. Or that taco truck from last week, Violet piped up. Those were some damn good tacos. Wade sighed and was about to move on when he spotted a bloody trail leading to a dumpster near the end of an alleyway. Oh, come on. Oh, come on, Wade whined. Finding people in a dumpster is Hawkeye's and Daredevil's thing, and it's totally overused trope. Wade couldn't make out what was in the dumpster, and he debated going down and checking it out when a box sang in his ear. Come on, Pool, go take a look. Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back. Yellow whistled, pausing before continuing. Or in this case, a regenerative mutation, but tomato potato. It's potato, you imbecile. Green whined. Wade ignored the growing argument between his boxes as he parked toward himself down to the alley by the blood trails, then heaved himself up at the lid of the dumpster to peer inside. What he saw silenced the boxes in a heartbeat because there was a kid in the dumpster. There was a fucking kid, pale as an empty comic book panel, covered in blood in the dumpster. Wade instantly climbed the rest of the way in, pulling off one of the gloves to check for a pulse, and found nothing but cold skin. An icy rage rolled over him like a wave, and his mind roared itself into a furious focus. Something he hadn't felt since he went looking for Francis. If there was one thing he hated more than low-life fucks he used to go after, it was kid killers. He wanted so badly to start the hunt for these walking dead men, but Wade couldn't just leave the kid to be found with the trash. He picked up the kid under his knees and shoulders, lifting him as easily as lifting a bag of potatoes, and jumped down out of the dumpster. He laid the teen down on the ground and started feeling around the kid's pockets for a phone or a wallet, or something the kid could be ID'd with when he called the police. But then something really, really weird happened. While Wade was patting down the kid's eyes burst open and instantly tried to take a swing at him, nearly giving Wade a heart attack. He flipped back as the kid, dazzled and frightened, tried to scramble upwards. Wade watched in dumbfounded amazement at the kid, who Wade swore was long past dead, get up, shaky legs like a newborn foal, run full into a wall and knock himself out again. Wade paused and tried to wrap his head around what he saw. Fuck this, Wade thought as he dug out his arm and dialed Peter's number. This shit is too weird, even for me. Wade brought the phone to his ear and settled his unoccupied hand in the crook of his folded arm, tapping his foot impatiently as he waited for Peter to pick up. He started taking the moment he heard the click of the call connect. Hey, Spider Babe, Wade said in a deadpan. I'd love to start off with a sappy one-liner, but we're gonna have to settle with a cold open because I just found a dead teenager in a dumpster and... You found what? Peter interrupted. Wade paused as he nudged the kid with his heels, seeing if he could elect another reanimation. Deceased kid, unalive adolescent, expired juvenile. Wade listed as he continued to nudge the kid. Oh my God, Peter whispered brokenly. Yeah. Wade trailed off as he bent down grabbing the back of the kid's shirt, shaking him like a mother cat with its kitten. Except he didn't stay dead. The little shit jumped up and gabbled at me, and then ran straight into a wall and knocked himself the fuck out. Which, like, points for execution, but anyways, how do you feel about adoption? Wade could picture Peter putting his face in his hands as he sighed. Wade, Peter cried in broken exasperation. It's a teenage boy with black hair and blue eyes, Wade begged as he dropped the teen's shirt and stood back up. I am legally required to pull a Batman. While Peter was groaning away, the kid started to stir again, this time a bit more slowly and subdued. Hold on, Boo. He's waking up again, Wade said as he muffled the phone piece to his chest. Hey, kid, take it easy. I just finished fishing you out of the dumpster. You got a phone on you so I can call your parents' unit or something? Wade watched as the kid pushed himself up slightly and tried to shake off his confusion like a dog shaking off water. Once the teen was apparently satisfied, he leaned his head back and looked at his savior. Deadpool? The kid whispered, and Wade nearly flinched. Fucking Christ, Wade thought. Even as a mutated, ugly fuck, I still attract kids like honey to fly. Yeah, home slice, it's Deadpool, Wade replied. You need me to call you an ambulance? No, the kid shook his head. Just need to get my bearings. Wade was highly doubtful, considering he found the kid stone cold with no pulse, but he wasn't going to push. Maybe he could have Peter swing by and get the kid to go. Just as he was about to suggest it, the teen took a deep breath in as he prepared to sit up and breathed out a trail of blue mist. Wade exhaled as the kid froze. Oh, shit! Ah! Wade yelled as he jumped up and pointed dramatically at the teen. Wade could vaguely hear Peter asking what was wrong in the background, and he quickly brought the phone back to his ear. Boo, you need to meet me back at the safe house, C. ASAP. I'll explain when you get there. He hung up without further ado, then watched as Danny fucking Phantom dropped his head to the ground and whispered a quiet, beheft-felt, fuck. Wade brought Phantom to Safe House C quickly and efficiently by hosting the prop squeak over his shoulder and then halting ass across the rooftops, his strength and stamina making it quick and easy. He heard Phantom groan in pain once in a while, but mostly the teen complained about being carried like a sack of flour. Wade made it into the safe house by landing on the fire escape and forcing himself and his living Gardo through the unlocked window. Wade moved to the kitchen, to the bedroom, and plopped the teen down on the admittedly messy table. He drove into the bathroom and bedroom to try to find the med kit he kept here for Peter. Wade stormed back into the kitchen, finding the teen scoldingly taking in his surroundings, with his arms crossed. Honestly, Wade was going to fucking lose it. He slammed the med kit on the table and opened it up before lifting the teen's shirt where the blood stain was and ignoring the teen's shout of protest. He stilted, then shoved the shirt back down when he found no wound. I'll explain later, but what I really need right now is food, Phantom said, and then his stomach let out the largest grumble Wade has ever heard. Phantom blushed like a lime, and his eyes switched from ocean blue to toxic waste green. You got anything to eat? Wade rushed back to the bedroom to raid his secret snack stash, no questions asked, knowing that this kitchen wasn't as well stocked like the other safe houses he had. Phantom had insisted that he was strictly a ghost, or a half ghost, whatever, but Wade knew he had to be a mutant in some way, and all mutants had their quirks. He pumped the first stash on a clean, if ripped sheet, going to the closet and lifting a ceiling panel to find that his prize candy trove hadn't been rifled by Peter's sticky fingers. He grabbed all he could and hurried back to the kitchen with the sheet over his shoulder like a demented Dollar Tree Santa Claus. He found Phantom opening cabinets and cupboards like a nosy, starving mouse, which, rude, but Wade wasn't going to bitch about it. As he spread the sheet on the kitchen table in a mocking redemption of a feast. When Phantom made his way to the refrigerator, Wade grabbed his shoulders and led him back to the table. He didn't want to deal with the fantastic fungus-like zombie apocalypse on top of trying to take care of a teen. Thank you kindly. This gonna be enough, or should I be worried you'll start eating the furniture next? Wade asked. Yeah, this should hold me for a little while. Thanks. Phantom said as he digged in, starting with a crispy creamy jumbo honey bun. Thank fuck. Wade breathed in relief, pulling up his mask as he held over to one of the open cabinets, cranking open a whiskey bottle and downing a couple swallows. They both stayed silent for a while, Phantom munching his way through snacks, while Wade nursed his drinking at an alarm pace. God, Wade wishes he could still get blackout drunk because he seriously needed to let loose those brain cells yesterday. Thanks, Phantom said after a moment, and Wade paused uncomfortably. Thanks for saving me. Ah, Wade replied, shakily. If there's one thing you shouldn't do, is thank me. Phantom frowned before opening a bag of chips. Why shouldn't I? Phantom replied. You saved my life. I would be dead right now if it wasn't for you and your little hitchhiker. Wade almost choked on a mouthful of his drinks and coughing to clear his way. Excuse me, my what? Wade shouted, and Phantom flinched slightly. You know that shade I was talking about yesterday? And here Phantom deliberately dragged his eyes down to Wade's face on his shoulder. It made Wade's skin crawl. It sort of attached itself to you. It's why my ghost senses keep going off. I gave it some of my ecto energy yesterday to keep it from bugging me, and it sort of gave it back to me when you found me. Jumping start my ghost core. If you hadn't found me, I'd be full ghost instead of half one, so thank, I said. Wade interrupted, slamming the bottle on the counter. Don't thank me. Phantom glared and put down his bag of chips and stood from his chair. Why do you do that? Phantom asked. Spider-Man said you hated to be called a hero, but he trusts you with his life. And I've read some interesting posts about you last night. Phantom, Wade growled. I'm warning you. But Phantom just continued over him. You've stopped 15 different people from committing suicide this year, Phantom said. And most of the jobs you did in the past were threatening crazy stalkers to stop bothering their victims. So why can't you just admit that you're a... Because I'm not, okay? Wade yelled as he lunged forward, towering over Phantom, who slumped back in his kitchen chair. I'm not a fucking hero. I'm certifiedly insane. I've killed people. Phantom, and I've done it for fun. Yeah, well, sometimes good people do bad things. Phantom yelled back, trying to stand up and get in his face. Wade sneered and stalked back to the corner where he left his drink. Yeah, and sometimes bad people do good things. Still doesn't make them any less of a bad person. Wade answered, taking another swig. Phantom clenched his fists and stalked forward, poking his finger into Wade's chest, his glowing eyes seemingly to peer into Wade's soul. Let me tell you something about shades, Deadpool. They can't evolve into higher ghost forms on ectoplasm alone. They have to feed on emotions in order to develop a personality. And that little shade has been attached to you for months, if not years, learning, Phantom growled. I may have taught it how to give ecto energy to other beings, but it learned the concept of kindness and selflessness from you. They waited 10 more minutes in tense silence before Peter tapped frantically at the kitchen window, in motion only broken up when Fanny texted some bullshit excuse to his parents about why he was late for his check-in. After they assured Peter and Phantom weren't in any danger and a brief change of clothes for the kid, Phantom explained to both of them how he ended up in such an awful placement, briefly detailing how there wasn't enough ambient ectoplasm in the city to sustain his powers without consequences. That's when he had been stabbed. His ghost core had shorted itself out to heal his body, and that the shade that had attached itself to Deadpool has restarted his ghost core. Peter had finally worn a hole through the floor after pacing, and Deadpool has started another bottle of hard liquor to keep from intruding the prickles that has been attacking Phantom with a new asshole on their forehead. They all agreed that it would be better if Peter to not try and find the crooks that attack Phantom. But Wade made no promises that he wouldn't be hanging out by the alleys trying to find them. "Are you sure you're all right?" Peter asked, eyeing the untouched med kit and snack wrappers littered on the table. "Yeah," Phantom sighed, reaching up and cracking his necks. "I have emergency ectoplasm back at the hotel. I'll have to monitor what I do with my powers and eat my weight in burgers for every meal, but I'll be fine." Wade chewed on his lip before going to the bathroom and rummaging in one of the side tables. Once he found what he was looking for, he went back to the kitchen and grabbed one of Phantom's hand, prying it open and placing a switchblade that was just under the legal limit in knife length onto his palm. "Next time someone grabs you and you can't use your powers, use this," Wade said. "You flip it open, stab it anywhere, twist, and run." "Wade," Peter started, but Wade cut him off. "Nope, that's it. I'm done with this bullshit for today. Both of you, get out," Wade said before he stalked back to the bedroom and slammed and locked the door. Wade slid down to the floor, making sure to roll down his mask and covered his ears, hiding away and trying to drown out the boxes without putting a bullet in his brain. Danny stood in the kitchen, hand clutching the knife Deadpool had forced into his palms, and looked at the door leading to the bedroom in disbelief. Tentatively, Spider-Man put a hand on his shoulders and tried to lead him out of the safe house. "Sorry, Phantom," Spider-Man said somberly, "but I think it's time we leave." Fuck that noise, Danny thought. Heroes help people, and Deadpool needed help. Danny shrugged Spider-Man's hand off his shoulders and walked to the front of the bathroom door, speaking before either one of them could stop him. "My name is Danny Phantom," Danny said, glancing Spider-Man in his peripheral, making abrupt motions with his arms. Danny held up his pointer finger, asking for silence, and let his eyes glow as he glared. Spider-Man froze, and Danny continued. "When I was 14, I was messing around in my parents' lab with my friends when I got dosed with so much ectoplasm that the shock killed me before bringing me back to life, and I became like this. Since then, I've met and fought a lot of ghosts. About a month ago, I met a ghost who could look into the future. He showed me a reality where I got my friends and family killed, and I was so sad and guilty that I asked another Hatha to literally rip out my humanity and turned myself into a monster." Danny inched forward and rested his head on the door. "I was scared shitless because all I've ever wanted to do after I got these powers was to help people. I asked him why he showed me that, and he said, 'Everyone deserves a second chance.' You're not a bad guy doing good things, Wade. I truly believe you're a good person. Just because you're not a hero doesn't mean you're a villain." Danny lifted his head before he turned and made his way back to Spider-Man. "I can find my way back to the hotel from here," Danny whispered, continuously pointing his eyes back towards the door. "Give him some company?" "You got it, Danny," Spider-Man said, before pulling him into a brief hug. "And thank you." I bet you didn't expect Danny Phantom to be literally stabbed and then left to die in a dumpster. because I sure as hell did not when I first read this fanfic. I was shocked. The emotional torment and roller coaster that this fanfic put me through a year ago when I first read it is immense, and I cannot wait to go through it again. Okay, so I want to talk about how Deadpool's mindset is. For those who aren't in any of these fandoms or just don't know Deadpool's story, in short terms, he went through a lot of trauma, and the way he got his powers was literally torture. Like, they experimented on him, torture. So I find it very interesting, the whole boxes being voices. And I played around a little bit with that, with like different voices, or not voices, but different like voice effects, and I liked that one the best, and I hope like it translate well. I was trying to go with that echoey kind of in the mind kind of thing. Hopefully that went like well and you guys actually like it. It's a little experiment because I normally don't do voice effects in my videos, but experimenting. My note just says spider baby. I don't know what that means. Oh, okay. I don't know what that means, but the boxes, when they start arguing, after the whole potato, and then after that the arguing that happens, that is not in the fanfic. I added that in because I heard arguing. I'm gonna add that in because I find that hilarious. I'm gonna do that. I didn't do it again for when Deadpool was in his room and kind of having a breakdown, because I was like, I'm lazy. And I wouldn't know what the boxes would say. We have two of my favorite lines in this chapter. Two of my favorite lines. The lines that I love so much. Okay, so the first one is deceased teen, unalive adolescents, expired juvenile. Those are my favorite. I don't know. Like, I remember reading it for the first time, and me and my best friend would just, like, I would start it off just like deceased teen. They would say, you know, the other one, and then I would say the other one, or it would like, etc. Like the other way around. And then my other one, I think this one is a little bit more of my favorite. Like, I still use it kind of to this day. To myself, of course. And I still think about this one. I love this one so much. This going to be enough, or should I be worried you'll start eating the furniture? I don't know why. That made me laugh even when recording. I knew the line, but it made me laugh when recording, and it also made me laugh when I first read it. I just loved it so much. So yeah, Wade not thinking of himself like a hero, and then the whole argument, ugh, that breaks my heart. We're in for an emotional roller coaster, so strap on, and as always, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds, have a wonderful day or night. Join our community Discord server, link is in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.